Before embarking on any journey, we engage in that tedious practice known as packing. We have to decide what we will need and what we should leave at home. You never know what will happen to your luggage either. As Bob Hope said, I've gone to almost as many places as my luggage has. We always tend to pack too much stuff so that at the end of the trip we realize we haven't used half of what we thought would be so indispensable. When I was young, I used to overpack. Well, back then I could carry it. Now I can't, and so I have learned to pack very lightly. The 10th century Grand Vizier of Persia, Abdul Qasim Ismail, had to travel a lot as statesman and soldier, but every time he went on a trip, he took with him 400 camels, carrying his entire personal library of 117,000 books. It was easy for him to find any of his books quickly, because all 400 camels were trained to walk in alphabetical order. I would call that overpacking. Jesus tells his apostles to pack lightly. He sends them on a journey, but says not to take anything but a walking stick. I never understood that. These apostles were a lot younger than I am now, and St. John was probably a teenager. They were robust and healthy. Why did he tell them to take a walking stick? It was in the mountains of South America that I came to understand. I have sort of a son there, Miguel. We're not really related by blood, but long ago he started calling me Papa, and indeed I'm the only father he has ever known. We were trekking through these mountains because he wanted to show me a fascinating prehistoric burial site that I was very interested in. The terrain was extremely rough and very steep. He had no problems, as he's almost like a mountain goat, young and agile and used to mountain life. I, on the other hand, was a city boy, and no longer very young even then. I often stumbled on the steep cliffs, but I thought I was doing fairly well. But then he went off for a moment, cut something down, and came back with a long walking stick for me. I said, I don't need a walking stick. I'm not that old yet. He looked at me as if to say, oh, yes, you are. I said, whenever I start to stumble, I grab onto a tree next to me. He said, yes, but sometimes those trees are not rooted deeply enough. They come out and you fall. Sometimes those trees are too dry, too inflexible. They break and you fall. Yes, I said, but sometimes I reach out and you take my hand to prevent my fall. That's true, he said, but sometimes I have to walk ahead to prepare the road for us, and sometimes the path is not wide enough for both of us at the same time. You're going to need this walking stick. Begrudgingly, I took the stick. It was an insult to my youthful pride. But he told me the walking stick is very special to our beliefs. Well, now I was intrigued. This young man is very much in touch with the wisdom of his Inca ancestors and with the things of the Spirit. The walking stick, he said, has always been a symbol of God's presence. Every step of the way, you plant that stick firmly into the ground, and with that, God is grounding you to the things of Mother Earth, much more than your 2 feet could have done. And at the same time, that stick is pointing to the things above, pointing you towards the real destination of your journey. Now I understood a little more what it was that Jesus was giving his apostles. I still slipped sometimes, but I had that stick with me, a stick which now represented to me the presence of God. It was strong enough to hold me up, strong enough to ground me to the things of Mother Earth, yet flexible enough, green enough, alive enough not to break. And that stick continued to point upwards to the things of God. I understood then that when Jesus told his apostles to take nothing but a walking stick, he wasn't talking about a stick of wood. He was talking about the divine life already inside them. They needed nothing on their journey but this firm walking stick, this awareness of the presence of God always with them. As we journey through life's difficult terrain, we often stumble and sometimes we fall. There are times when we reach out to the things around us, the things of earth. Sometimes they can ground us a little, but we still fall because those roots are not deep enough. Sometimes perhaps we look to some unbending system of principles and beliefs to adopt and stick to tenaciously. That too can help us along to an extent. But sometimes we find that that stick has become too dry, too unbending for life's challenges. When the pressures become too great, that stick breaks because of its inflexibility, its dryness. Then too we stumble and fall. Sometimes, too, when walking side by side with others, we reach out for help, or they reach out to us. We prevent their fall, or they prevent ours. But there are times when there is no one at our side whose hand we can reach. Then that walking stick becomes precious and indispensable. The presence of God, our sure support, strong enough to hold us up to the most treacherous paths of life, grounding us to the things of earth, yet always pointing us to the things of above. It is strong enough to support us, but green enough, alive enough, flexible enough to meet every pressure, every challenge without breaking. Let us pack wisely for the journey, realizing there is only one thing we need to take along. Since that hike in the Andes so long ago, I have consciously held that walking stick every step of the journey and have treasured it immensely. We may stumble, we may grow weary, we may at times even want to give up, but we have packed already inside ourselves a sure support we know as the powerful divine presence in our life, the unfailing, ever-present walking stick of God.